Alright, so I flushed the fuel rail here entirely out with Varsol and pressurized air, so it should be free of any loose particles that are going to cause the new injectors to plug up. So a little bit of Varsol residue on it, but that's not a big deal, it burns. So new injectors now. I'm going to go ahead and put the new injectors in, even though some of the old ones were working. I don't want to take a chance that one of the old ones could fail after being exposed to that kind of dirt. So I'm going to take the new clips off of the new injectors to be able to put the injectors into the rail. And I'm going to put a little bit of brand new 10W30 engine oil, which is what I'm using in the engine right now. Put a little bit of this new oil on all of the O-ring seals before we put it together. That way the O-ring will seat well and it's not going to tear it on the way in. So let's start with the backmost here. There is a little plastic rib inside each of the holes on the outermost part. I'm guessing is where you're supposed to line up the electrical plug with. So let's see how these are to put in. Oh, not too bad. Of course, I've got it in completely backwards, so it's a good thing it rotates, because the clamp brackets go to the inside and the injector plugs are to the outside. So there's one. Try and eyeball the angle of the plugs. They all look to be pretty close. Now for the clips, I don't know how much fun these are going to be to install. I got it going from the back. Going under here. Wow, oh my goodness. That is nuts. The way these clips are sitting, at least, there's no way it's going to stop the injector from coming out of the rail. Now the rail is bolted to the, or fastened to the intake with brackets, but still. And that's on all the way. So I wouldn't trust that any further than I can throw it. But again, it's not the only thing holding the injectors in place, so it's not as big of a deal. So with that, we're ready to do a quick clean job on the injector ports in the intake, and then we can put some oil on those O-rings and put them in, put the rail back in, and then on to the other side. Without further ado, let's get the passenger side fuel rail back in there. Alright, that shouldn't be in the way. Now to try and hit the hole without getting dirt all over the end of the injectors again. One, two, 4. Now steady, of course again it'd be good if I can see, a steady push in the direction and a bit of a wiggle in the direction of the angle of the ports in the intake, which they're not perfectly perpendicular to the surface, they're on an angle back and out. So I can put these rail mounting screws back in now. There'll be a torque for those as well, but I'm not super concerned about it. Okay, I'm going to leave that there for now. That's okay. Keep the dirt out of that. Let's go through and plug in the injectors though. Might as well, if I can see to do so. Very difficult to work on this engine because you can't get to anything. Plugs are on securely on this side. So that is that part. Oh, done. God. One side done, one side to go. Gigantic pain in the ass. Alright. So, a lot more junk in the way on this side. As far as getting the rail out of there. So that is driver side rail out now. And not too bad on the ports, a little bit of dirt on this first one. I don't think I'm going to bother plugging them this time. It's not going to be very long between getting the rail clean and getting it back in, so I'll leave those and carefully exit the premises. Alright, so unfortunately I have to take back out my fuel pressure regulator that I put in here a little while ago when I figured there was a problem with pressure to the rail, so I'm going to take the clip off here. Oh my goodness, there we go. Come on. Wow. Also a strong clip. Try and put it somewhere I'm not going to lose it. And I'm going to take this out outside because there's going to be fuel come out, I'm sure. Well, enough rust, sludge, and sediment came out of there to guarantee that it would plug up the injector. On this one, there was only one injector that wasn't running, I believe, and that was numero 4. So, let's get these rusty clamps off of here first, I guess. And I'm not too worried about cleaning these up much because I'm just going to yank them anyways. I will keep all of the old ones, but I'm not going to go through testing these ones. I'm just going to get the rail clean and get the new injectors in and get this thing back together so we can see if it's going to run the way it's supposed to or not. So I'm going to go pull these. Actually, I should pull this over in here too. So that belongs to this. all covered in lovely sediment as well. This little screen is supposed to come out. Hopefully without hurting it. Awesome, the little screen is completely plugged with rust. And looking inside there, half of that isn't even supposed to be there in the top part. So yeah, it's due for a cleaning. So that's the injector that was not running, and I don't know if you can see in the light there, but that opening is completely plugged full of soaking wet, gungy rust sediment. So that's why this one doesn't work. Surprise, surprise. Absolutely horrible. This is why you should not use metal fuel lines of any sort. Plastic is the way to go. They don't rust. Oh my goodness. Oh. That's cylinder number 1 that was running. So I don't know if it's full here now, overflowing, you can see there, just because I disrupted it or what, but wow. That's nuts. Alright, so again, I'm going to go off and clean this rail, flush it with Varsol and blow it clean with compressed air, and then we'll come back and get, actually speaking of blowing with compressed air, rusty slime and shale everywhere. So I'm going to go clean this other rail, and then we'll come back and put the new injectors in and get it back together. Alright, so we're back with a nice flushed out clean driver side fuel rail. So same as before, I'm going to, actually I should have scraped out that shale before now, but see if I can do it here without it going inside. A bit of oil again, just to keep from tearing itself apart as it goes together. Just a little. Try and get like that. And a little bit around the little spigot that goes down the center, because there's another little tiny O-ring in the middle of the fuel rail here. I'm trying to remember the angle of this. I think it has to go upward. Kind of like that. And then the lovely spring clip here. Which way does this go now? Like this. Like so. Ta-da! Secured, so that keeps the dirt out of there now, and then I'm just going to block these holes. Alright, so then same as we did on the passenger side, we're going to oil the O-rings on all the new injectors. I'm going to move all the clamps first here again. Goes like so. Alright, so set that aside for the moment while I get the so I'll get back up here again and get the intake ports on the driver's side here cleaned out, and then we can oil those other O-rings and get the rail back in on this side. It's going to be a very fun time trying to get this fished back in there without getting dirt all over everything, so that'll be interesting. Oil up the O-rings here. So that's all the injectors plugged back in now. Lost my ground here again, because of course I shortened the wire. Okay, so I guess let's fight the return back in here. It needs to be cleaned a bit first. Of course, I never checked. I'm only assuming there's still an O-ring in there, and there is not. That's wonderful. So I lost the friggin' O-ring. Lost the friggin' O-ring. A pain in the butt. Now I get to try and find an O-ring. So I'm gonna go try and find an O-ring for that return pipe that somehow got lost, and then I'll be back.